Hey right bags, it's Jade, welcome to a grounded update video. If you're wondering when the super duper update is hitting, so many of you asked and you're excited, it does look like it's not going to launch maybe this week and will be indeed in testing for at least another few days until I reckon next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday at some point next week. I'm going to show you guys how to actually join the Xbox Insider program on Windows 10, and it should be exactly the same procedure on the Xbox console as well. I've actually recently just done this for Valheim, and even though it's 2 years old, some of you guys might have forgotten that you can actually go and test out Grounded now. But of course it's always a risk. If you try the PTBs, your progress does carry over, and it will carry over from the PTB to the full update. But yeah, you might still want to wait for the full update to hit everyone. So first, the hotfixes. Now I've pretty much shown you all the new content over the last few days. There was more with the Duper new machine, as well as all the new unlocks and items. I generally don't go through a lot of the patch notes until the actual release of the update for everyone, just because there are quite a lot of changes normally made. But there's a few things also I did want to point out today in this video. Something I've not really mentioned in any of the other stuff is that there is now proper Steam Deck support. Steam Deck's fairly new still, but a lot of games had managed to make it worthwhile and playable, but Grounded was conspicuously absent. But it now does support properly Steam Deck support. Of course, it may still say that it's not actually Steam Deck compatible. That's because obviously it's in the public test at the moment, but the devs are pretty confident that as soon as it goes public, it will now be better able to be played on a Steam Deck. So, in terms of the actual changes, this is what I think is important to keep you guys in the loop, because I'm sure lots of feedback has been given about certain things, and you may be still assuming that WASPs are too OP, or there's certain ways to trigger them. So there was a big bug where damaged buildings no longer load in with lower health than before on mild mode. Fixes buildings bases sometimes destroying themselves after load. So many of you guys were commenting and saying that had happened to you. Well, now it has been fixed. They've tuned and nerfed the Wasp Queen. It's going to spawn more Wasps more regularly, but they will have less health. Again, more issues to do with the final quest. Obviously, spoiler territory here. But effectively there was an item missing during the 1.0 launch, and for a good few months afterwards people were complaining that they couldn't actually finish the game. Well, it seems something else was missing this time, but it's now been fixed. They've lowered the number of wasps that spawn in a lower yard after angering the hive. Apparently there lots of them were flying around, albeit a little bit high, but there was still quite a lot of them, and that's something you should really understand. If you go and destroy or kill a bunch of the wasps, it looks like they will build up anger, and eventually that's what breaks open the wasp hive. Although it does say here they have changed it slightly as well, the triggering effects. The wasps that released into the yard respawn every 6 days now instead of every 3 days. More wasps and hives must be destroyed to trigger the wasp escape cutscene. So we all thought it was to do with just destroying a 1 or 2 of the wasp nests and then sleeping. Turns out actually it was more to do with making them angry, so you had to kill maybe 2 or 3, but it was very quick to do. And that would anger enough of them, or maybe even 4 or 5, and that's what triggered it once you slept. But it does look like the original way was meant to be the way it happened. Killing wasps and the hives must be destroyed to trigger the wasp escape cutscene. More wasps and hives must be destroyed to trigger a base attack. So hopefully you won't now get a random quick attack on your base, which has been pretty deadly for some. They did add a couple brand new items in the hotfix they had a couple days ago. One's this brand new wasp paper lamp. And I've added another partition stand, the wasp stand. So as I can tell, these will unlock as soon as you pick up wasp paper. Mosquitoes and bees no longer fight each other constantly. You may have seen them aggroing, well that will stop now. Player summons will no longer be affected by negative bard effects. Upgrading the Super Duper has a new camera angle. Coziness level up audio triggers properly for clients, which they've changed. It was a great guitar sound, but for some reason they've gone a bit more electric retro. They've also made it that you can now change the colour of the hot tub lights. Well, supposedly they've made the change that you can change the colour of lights. It wasn't working when I gave it a shot, so I'm sure that'll be another hotfix that'll be fixed. I'm not sure if it's the light inside the water or the actual furnace part. And they've also added a new button for showing what the control is for the repair for the handy nap. Various audio fixes with the Wasp Queen. And the previous update, as I said, the audio's been changed. They've also changed the wasps, how they attack. They only apply poison by default now instead of an arrangement of poison, venom and bleed. Bleed is still applied if they have been buffed by wasp drones, but it should be a bit easier to counter. Charge spicy staff projectile launches correctly. Was Queen land attack is now blockable. Broodmother jump back attack is blockable. If you don't know, they've changed also the Broodmother fight, so I've still got so much to show you guys over the coming days, but it does look like they've made it a bit harder. Was Queen normal attacks do slightly more damage. Fixed stuff creature scaling that was undone with the 1.2 public test build. Growing muscle sprouts now only give 2 muscle sprouts by default. The muscle sprouts can green thumb grow into larger sprouts that can be chopped into 2 muscle sprouts each. I showed you this off in the video. If you're lucky enough to get green thumb, you effectively get 4 muscle sprouts now in one plot. Cozy meter has now been fixed. It wasn't showing that it was full at level 5. Well, it was showing it was full at level 4, but wasn't showing the progress level 5. That's been fixed now. And lots to do with crafting and crashing fixes all been worked out. A few other things to note again from another earlier update. When you shoot arrows, it looks like now other players won't be able to pick any up. Only the person who shot the arrows will now pick them up by default. Arrow markers will only display for the player who shot the arrows. The Was Queen's received a bunch of fixes obviously and balances. Her rain attack wasn't working correctly where the projectiles would disappear in mid-air, but that's now fixed. And it shouldn't get stuck in the wall of the hive anymore either, making the fight a little bit tougher. There was an issue where you can now replace structural buildings with another, and sometimes it wasn't providing enough support and it would incorrectly collapse. That's been fixed. You can clearly see now the difference between the Was drone and the Was in just the name bar. I've improved how you can place many with the different parts of the walls, or just foundations, whatever you're building. I've changed some of the fire from the Bernie rounds, now correctly hurting creatures if they were in the fire the moment the round exploded. Fixes for some of the new stuff like the feather trinkets and stuffed creatures and wall mounts actually applying their bonuses properly now. The Was drone buffs no longer apply to other bugs. And they've already fixed what I showed off in my guide taking a look at the Wasp area, that you could use wide interaction to go ahead and grab the burgle chip. Boo! I reckon someone at Obsidian was watching me. And they did change the actual location of the dead body where you can pick up the brand new badge, so it's going to be easier to find. And that's it. A lot more changes to do with bug fixing stuff. So yeah, a bit unusual. I know I'm showing you the hotfixes, but I didn't go through all the patch notes. I just think it's important that when you see some of the first reaction videos from me and others, or previews of some of this content, we don't always necessarily show you how things have already changed during the P2B. So you might think or expect something to be really easy or really hard because you haven't actually realised that, yeah, a lot of that has already been changed. So I'm going to do this more regular. I guess you guys let me know if you want me to go through the patch notes properly every time there's a brand new update, even on PTB, do let me know. But otherwise, I feel like I'm better off waiting until the full update because then I can actually show you the gameplay as I'm talking about a lot of these features. So if you go to the Microsoft Store, you should hopefully be able to find the Xbox Insider Hub. It's called exactly that on the Xbox console as well. Once you've joined it or installed it, it basically gives you a choice of things that you can enter. Betas for your console or for how things run on Windows 10. And if you click on previews, it will show all the different games that you can currently test out. So I've done this video for Valheim. A bunch of people found it useful because no one had really showed them. Like I said, Grounded's been around a while, and I'm sure other creators, and I've probably done this as well in the past, but so many of you have been asking and talking about how to play it. You simply just click on it, and there you go, you can join. When it's ready to go full live for everyone, you won't have to do anything, because they generally shut this down. It doesn't keep running when they haven't got an update. They just revert back to the build that you should be playing, so you don't have to do anything after you've joined the first time. After that, the next public test branch that comes up, you will have to go inside the Xbox Insider program to see if it's available, and then you have to join it again. As I said, over 2 years covering Grounded by now, nearly. I've never had a problem with these, and I've been in every single one of them for every single update. That said, of course, it's always your own risk. There may be occasions where you won't be able to get your data back if you join this, and there is a major cock-up. But both Grounded and Valheim are pretty good with this sort of stuff. And that's pretty much it. I've got obviously more guides coming over the weekends showing you stuff to do with all the patch and update stuff. But just a little FYI, I am going to be gone next week for a holiday. I'm going to New York, spending time with some friends, with my family. So I'm hoping the update goes live before I go. If not, I'm going to plan some content so I can at least publish live as soon as I'm able to and keep you guys always up to date. I've never missed an update in 2.5 years of Grounded. I've been there every single step of the way, either on this channel or my older one. And I'm going to carry on being there. But especially, I did want to say thank you for all the support lately. A bunch of you guys have been coming into the streams. You've been revisiting some of the videos, and we just hit 102,000 views. For a channel my size, or the second channel at least anyway, that is pretty big stuff. So really, thank you very much. And I'll see you rat bags, hopefully for more content this week. And when I get back from New York, I've got big plans. More grounded content, in fact more than you've seen before. Until then, laters.